The U.S.-Iran ceasefire has been more fire than cease over the weekend, but both sides have reportedly agreed to again stop shooting following tit-for-tat strikes. Iran had fired towards American military bases in Bahrain just a day after the U.S. carried out strikes on Iranian missile and drone sites. The Pentagon says they were in response to Iranian strikes on ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Both sides accuse the other of violating the ceasefire signed less than 2 weeks ago. A U.S. official says both will now stand down and vessels can move freely through the waterway. Crystal Gamansing in the Middle East. And Crystal, after a weekend of shooting, those talks between Iran and the U.S. back on, are supposed to be anyway, tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right, David. A unnamed U.S. official is being widely quoted in multiple media stories saying that everyone has agreed to stand down, that they will go back to talks to try to hammer out that long-term peace deal, starting with those technical talks. Now, Iran has not said that. That right now, that is just coming from an American official. So what we do know is that Pakistan has said that talks will resume, those technical talks will resume tomorrow. Pakistan, of course, was one of the key mediators that led to both sides signing that interim agreement. But what we have right now is clear that Iran is trying to maintain its control over the Strait of Hormuz. Now, as you mentioned, those tit-for-tat strikes back and forth, the U.S. firing on Iran, Iran firing on or near locations in the Gulf that host American bases. All of it starting back on a disruption in the Strait of Hormuz. It appeared that ships were starting to use a route that goes closer to Oman. Iranian officials, including Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, coming out and saying, no, that the area to be used must be Iran's route because that is Iran's main bargaining chip, its most effective bargaining chip, and it is trying to maintain control over that. Those talks tomorrow believed to focus primarily on dealing with flare-ups in the Strait of Hormuz. But again, we are seeing both sides concerned about trust in these talks, concerned about actually getting something on paper that can hold up against any of these flare-ups. And that's also what we heard from Republican Senator Tom Tillis yesterday.
At a fundamental level, I just simply don't trust the Iranian leadership, the mullahs, to live up to their commitments. We're already seeing it. I mean, my goodness, how many ceasefires have we had over the past several months? And this one was supposed to be keyed to a 60-day agreement. So there's a lot of work to be done.
Now, the context here, David, and something we have to remember, the Strait of Hormuz was open. There was no talk of tolls. Ships flowed normally before the war started by Israel and the United States on February 28th.
Want to talk about Lebanon, of course, Crystal. Iran says there can be no long-term deal unless Israel withdraws and stops the fighting against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Any sign that that's going to happen?
Well, we did see more strikes overnight, according to Israel Defense Forces, but there was a lot of talk about Israeli troops pulling out from 3 villages in southern Lebanon. Now, that could potentially be a part of the agreement that was brokered by the United States. That would see 2 pilot projects, locations that would be taken over by the Lebanese army. However, we want to highlight something, and it was pointed out actually by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the 27th. He had a press conference, pulled up a big map and showed the area with those 2 pilot projects. He highlighted the area of occupation by Israel. That's the line in the yellow. And then the 2 small red locations. Those are the locations of the pilot zones where the Lebanese army would take over. He said one doesn't even come beyond Israel's border point where it is now occupying in that yellow zone. But the other one includes some areas that Israeli forces are occupying. However, he made a point of telling everyone at that press conference that Israel Defense Forces said that that location not operationally essential for any of their missions, and so it would not be a big deal if troops pulled out of that location. The CBC is seeking clarity on if those are the locations that are being talked about today. But there is a lot of focus on what's happening on Lebanon, how it rolls into the bigger picture, and if anything, we're hearing about changes in the positioning of Israel Defense Forces there is actually significant or more superficial.
Krista Gamansing, thank you very much.